The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup last night, and it actually means a lot to us here in St. Louis. And I will tell you why coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked on Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked on Blues. I am your host of Locked on Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked on Blues, I'm going to talk about that Panthers win last night. Draft and trades are happening, and not too far off. What exactly does this all mean? I'll tell you coming up here on Locked on Blues. But first, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So we need to talk about the Florida Panthers winning in last night's game. It was a 2-1 victory over the Edmonton Oilers, taking Game 7. And Game 7s are so intense as it is. And last night I'm watching the game. And Edmonton, they had a lot of opportunities, especially in the third period. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a disconnect between McDavid and Hyman and Draisaitl, but they just could not get the puck past Bobrovsky. And the thing about last night's game, and it showed me, was how not to do the last minute and 25 seconds of your season. And this is my little vent. I understand that the Oilers were in a situation where they were in their defensive zone, so they couldn't necessarily pull Skinner at that moment. But at the same time, with a minute 25 ticking down and that clock goes fast, I was a little surprised I still had him in net. Again, like, they just weren't aggressive enough. And it's a shame. I wanted the Panthers to win, and I'm happy that the Panthers won. But I have a heart and soul, and I'm not, this awful, monster where I didn't feel bad for them. Of course I did. For a team to be down 3-0 in a series and to draw a Game 7 is pretty dang impressive. So for me, I think about the Blues a lot, right? And how we were underdogs. Maybe we weren't underdogs in that sense of being down a series 3-0, but having some of the best players in the NHL. But I get what it's like to be an underdog in a Game 7. It just felt like, to me, the first period was really good on both ends. The Cats scored, and then, the Oilers scored a couple minutes later. I was like, okay, it's going to be that kind of game where it's going to be a high-scoring game. It ended up not being that way at all. I believe it was Sam Reinhart who scored the second Panthers goal in the second period. And then in the third period, it was scoreless. But man, like, the Oilers had so many opportunities. I mean, they were in the offensive zone the entire time in the third period. Like, it was insane. And I thought, I'm like, there's no way that they're not going to score. And they didn't, which I thought was really strange. Anyways, I understand with the award. I get it, right? It goes to the MVP at the playoffs. When you look at McDavid and how he did in the playoffs, I believe he had like over 40-something points, 42, 40, I think it was 42, in 25 or 26 games. I understand people saying, oh, Bobrovsky should have gotten, and, the Conn Smith. I get it. But if you look and see who voted, it was the Professional Hockey Writers Association. And a lot of them were like, Miami Post, or I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. But the point is, McDavid was almost unanimously voted. So there is a respect thing. And if anyone's like, oh, he didn't come out of the tunnel. Okay, I get it. I get both ends. But I think he was just being there for his teammates. So I don't think that you should punish someone because of that. Now that we're done with all the sappy stuff about Edmonton, I was right. I told you the Cats were going to win. Well, no, I said the Stars were going to win, and when they lost, I said Cats are going to win. I said Panthers in 6. I couldn't have predicted this to be the outcome, but they still won. So when I told you all to place, that what did I say, Panthers like money line, I was right. So that's that. But what's with the St. Louis connection? Because I just vented about the Cup. I needed to talk about the Cup. the Tkachuk family. The Tkachuk family. They made me an emotional mess last night. So I thought maybe seeing Vladdy with the cup was going to make me emotional, and it did. But seeing the Tkachuk family, whew, first off, I just want to say this. Having Keith Tkachuk here with us now is such a blessing because, I mean, that family is so special to us. Mathew and Brady, I mean, they love that they're from St. Louis. Like all their social media bios, it only says like St. Louis. So they clearly love it here. Keith never got the cup when he was with us, when he was with the Yotes, like never got the cup. And Brady's with the Senators, so we know that won't ever happen. Sorry, Brady, but that won't ever happen. Mathew Tkachuk, he's a player that people love to hate. And I love how he plays. He plays a lot like how Keith used to play, that aggressive style of hockey. I really like it, but that's not what made me emotional. It was Keith. It was Keith Tkachuk. Mathew wins the cup, and the final seconds are counting down, and they pan to Keith, and Keith is tearing up and crying, obviously, who wouldn't be? And it just made me realize that this cup, it wasn't just Mathew winning. It was Keith winning in a way. Keith never, ever got to hold Lord Stanley in his hands, but his son, his blood, Mathew, finally was able to. And there is this awesome video, and I wish I could play it on here, but copyright, I can't. And it's basically Mathew is, waving over his, I think it's fiance or wife. I don't want to misspeak. He's waving over Brady, his sister Taryn, everyone he's waving over. And then he sees his dad, Keith Tkachuk, and they kind of like do a little bit of like a bop towards each other. And it was really sweet. And as the celebration went on, towards the end of the broadcast, you see Mathew handing off the cup to Keith Tkachuk. And Keith takes the cup and he hoists it so high up in the air. And finally, Keith Tkachuk got to hold Lord Stanley. I mean, it meant so much to Keith. I could tell by the emotion and the family as a whole. I mean, this family is like hockey royalty. Like, yes, I know royalty comes with like, winning championships, but they're such a well-liked family in the NHL. And I know people may not like Mathew, they may not like Brady, they may not like Keith, but you have to admit that this family has such a passion for the game. And then last night, Jamie Rivers, he posted a throwback picture of him and Mathew and a bunch of other people. And then Mathew, during one of his interviews, he even shouted out St. Louis and the high school that he went to. And it was just one of those things where you could tell that there was a lot of St. Louis pride with Mathew last night. And I know when he has his date with the cup, it's coming back to St. Louis. Because I feel like that's just how he's going to celebrate having the cup, will be in his home city. But Vladimir Tarasenko, another guy that brought the waterworks. I love Vladdy, and we all know that he is one of my favorite players. Last night, seeing him with the cup, it just brought back so many memories of when he held the cup with us for the first time. And this is a really interesting fact, too, and I was actually kind of thinking about it as well. Oh, and I know Mikkola won as well, but I'm talking about Vladdy. Okay. Vladimir Tarasenko has won 2 cups in the past 5 years, with 2 teams winning their first ever Stanley Cup. Pretty cool for him to be a part of that. But you could tell the guys on this team were, they were cup chasing. And whenever a team wins, it's emotional. I get emotional. And it just is another reminder of how great that feeling is. And I have to remind myself, I'm like, Hale, it only happened 5 years ago. I get it. I get it. But then 5's going to turn to 6, and 6 will turn to 7, and so on. I'm saying it would be nice. And to win at home, like, that's so nice to be able to win in front of your, fans and things like that. I mean, I was just really happy last night for the Florida Panthers. So that being said, congratulations to the Florida Panthers and to the Edmonton Oilers. You guys put up a great fight, made it a very interesting series to say the least. And you should be proud of yourselves too, because that was not easy coming back from a 3-0 deficit at all. So what a season. And now the season is officially over. Wait, did I say that? Yeah, no, like, hockey season's done. Well, the games are done. I'm going to talk to you more about other things that are happening in hockey land. And that's why I keep on checking my phone, because you never know when some breaking news is going to happen. And by the way, I'm not about to break some news for us, at least. All right, let's talk about my friends over at FanDuel. I love sports and I love them so much, and I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down and come to an end, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sporting like the way I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up my bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the MLB. St. Louis. Okay. I told you yesterday, I said be a little careful about those Atlanta Braves. And you know what? We still won 4-3 yesterday. So we play them tonight. I don't know if we're going to, I don't know. The Braves scare me. Just honestly, wait until we play the Reds on Thursday and then just put us on the money line. I'm trying to win you money, not trying to lose you money. Draft trades are happening and it is insane. So I'm going to open up my phone right now because I'm getting a notification. And this is called semi-live podcasting. The San Jose Sharks acquired Jake Wallman and a 2024 second-round pick from Detroit for future considerations. So that just happened from Chris Johnston. Now, why am I tweeting that? I mean, not tweeting that. Why am I saying that? Because it is actually insanity how much this is happening. I mean, you open up Twitter and all you see is just different, this player might go here, Trevor Zegras. You know who isn't linked to anything? The St. Louis Blues. You know what tweet we get today? It's Alexei Turchenko's birthday. Happy birthday. But we're not getting anything else, okay? And by the way, Wallman used to play for us too. So, yeah, I guess it wasn't going so great, which is kind of funny. Oh man, it is crazy. But yeah, there is literally something to be said. Now, personally, do I think that the Blues are going to make a trade before the draft? No. I don't. I don't know if they're going to make any moves at all at this point, but with teams being so aggressive now, yesterday, Ullmark from the Bruins was traded to the Senators, and basically teams are kind of going all in right now, and I'm getting a little bit curious. What is Doug Armstrong up to doing? Now, I'm going to be very transparent with you, St. Louis. I will be in an airplane tomorrow for 6 hours going to Las Vegas for the NHL draft. If something breaking happens, I'm not going to buy the Wi-Fi on the plane. So I feel like if something were to happen, it would be between the time that I am flying, which could be anytime in the afternoon, early evening, when something can happen. And I'm just saying, if that ends up happening, if something goes down while I'm in the airplane, I know I'm going to get off the plane. I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to check my phone, and all I'm going to see is just notifications. And that makes me extremely kind of on edge. Because I don't want to leave as soon as there's something breaking news happening. I think that'd be so cool, but yeah, anything can happen. And that is why at the moment I have my phone out, because I just want to say, if something does happen, there was another trade between the Preds and the Red Wings. But if something does happen, I will break it on the podcast and do an emergency episode if I'm able to. But it has been crazy. And I'm like, okay, well, when do I film today's episode? And I'm like, okay, I'll just do it now, because I just figured that if I do it now, then if something does happen, I'll have time to discuss it. But because nothing's happened, so I'm already getting a little bit later in the day, I'm like, there's really no point in waiting any longer to do this episode. I want to let you know too, by the way, about a prospect that I like, that is Jiricek, and I'm going to have my guys from the Locked On podcast that we're talking about him, because I really do like him for the Blues.
Let's close things off here for today's episode. We've got at number 16, Locked On Blues, Locked On St. Louis Blues, picking up Adam Jiricek of HC Pilsen in the Czech Extraliga. This one's a kind of contentious one. There's a lot of question marks around Jiricek. He suffered a pretty severe injury at the World Juniors in one of the first few games. Seemed like a knee laceration of some ligaments, maybe even multiple ligaments. We don't know yet. I don't think a lot of details were shared about that. But I think overall, the upside makes him pretty interesting. He's got a good combination of violence, physical tools, skating ability, and a good breakout game as well. That I think that on that, for sure, he's worth a top 16 pick. I'm just not sure how much more his game can progress, especially with that big injury. His skating being one of his key standout traits that he relies upon in his game, right? If his skating's affected by his knee injury, I think that would be a kind of real bet here at 16. But what do you think?
For sure. This is a risky swing. I can see a lot of the elements that would make it, I could make it worthwhile. It's a little bit of a shot in the dark that could either really hit or really miss. And I think that the St. Louis Blues are a team that could actually make that type of swing on a player that does have this level of violence, hockey lineage, with his brother David Jiricek being one of the top defensive prospects in world hockey at the moment, and also that untapped offensive potential that he's been able to show off internationally against junior competition, which was really, really not present against pro competition. He was out of his depth playing professional hockey this season. It was not the right level for him, but big question mark, but an entertaining swing here at 16th overall.
So as I said, I like what the guys had to say, and I agree. And I really do believe that the Blues are going to get him or Brandsack Nygaard. Those two guys are going to be St. Louis Blue. Well, one of those two guys. But the thing about the draft, though, anything can happen. And I'm still kind of hoping that the Blues make a trade so they can get in the top 7 and they can get Sam Dickinson, because I think that he is the best defender. And I want him so badly to be on this team. But I'm also asking for a lot, because I know he's not going to fall back. And I also know the Blues are probably not going to make that drastic of a trade if they do make a trade. So maybe they'll get another, first round draft pick. I mean, they can still do things as the draft is happening, but I would rather know now than then, because again, your girl's going. Media, I don't even have an outfit. Okay, I'm leaving tomorrow, but I just want to prepare myself for if we have 2 first rounders. So that's what I'm kind of doing in my head. So that's why I'm giving all these possibilities of different players, because I still think the Blues might draft 2 different players in the first round, because they're going to make a trade for another first round draft pick. But I talked about the teams that would be willing to, and now that there's all these trades happening, I'm like, St. Louis, you got to do something sooner than later, because you're going to miss your window of opportunity. And that makes me nervous. The Blues are not too far off. So last night, I'm watching the finals. Okay. And I'm like, oh yeah, the Blues definitely wouldn't be able to win the series. But I thought about it, and it's not like the Panthers play their best hockey, and it's not like Edmonton play their best hockey. And I feel like if the Blues were to seriously become a contending team again, because don't forget, they were in the past. Oh. What just broke? Hold on. We might have some breaking news. Wow. Hockey Hall of Fame class for this year just broke. It's Pavel Tkachuk, Jeremy Roenick, Shea Weber, Natalie Dortz, Kirsty Wendell-Poole, and David Poley and Colin Campbell. Nice. I thought a trade happened. I panicked. I have Chris Johnston's Twitter notifications on, and I got really nervous for a solid second. I was like, did a trade happen? No. Okay. See, whenever that goes off, I freak out. But anyways, so I'm watching the last night, and the Blues, honestly, if they just work on the defense, because Florida's defense is a prime example. They have a lot of veterans on the D line, but honestly, like, it works. And I mean, on the blue line, at the D line. And it works. So if the Blues go after more top tier veteran players, then yes, it's possible. Now, Sam Reinhart did speak last night. I don't know if it was the adrenaline of winning the cup, but he was asked about, free agency, and he said that he does not want to sign anywhere else besides Florida. So, cool. Now, they didn't ask that to Brandon Montour, so maybe he's still on the market, but I think right now the Panthers are just celebrating this cup win. But I could also see realistically some of those guys not really wanting to come to a team that's kind of needing some tender love and care. I think that they're really happy being with the Panthers. And I think this season after you win a cup, at least for us and how I felt, like, those guys on the ice were heroes to me. They were like, not even they. I was like, those are the guys that won us the cup. Like, I just felt like extra connected to them. So maybe the players selfishly, they just want to be able to celebrate being the defending Stanley Cup champions. I don't necessarily know per se. And I don't know if that's the reason why, but I just would take a guess as to why it is. But it is just such an interesting thing when you really think about, all that's happening right now in the NHL. I mean, it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. But if anything breaking happens with St. Louis, of course I will let you know on Twitter at Locked On Blues, but we're not rumored to anything. And that's like the crazy thing about it. I feel like every other team is like rumored to something. Not us though. We're not rumored to any single trade, any single move, nothing. How do I feel about that? A little annoyed. I wish that we were, because I feel like every other team is except us, but maybe it's because Doug is good at keeping secrets. I don't know. We'll see, but I will talk to you tomorrow before I take off to Vegas. So until then, let's go Blues.